Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 26th March. The news items picked up from the Hindu are these 12. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, how a Telangana cop infiltrated UP terror group. So this is regarding a pipe bomb which was put on Bhopal Ujjain passenger train which blasted in March 2017, a few days back. In this, 9 people were injured, and the Madhya Pradesh police in this case arrested 3 men few hours after the blast. So the justification here is given that this blast arrests could take place because Telangana police had provided specific intelligence about the whereabouts of the group, a group inspired by Islamic State who were planting such a bomb as such. So this was an undercover operation which was successfully done. So the people were arrested here too. So this is important with respect to the recent cases of rail accidents which we are seeing bombs being placed. So in that context, it is important, just the news. Then the next news item is Meenagadi has a green dream, carbon neutrality. So what do you mean by the term carbon neutrality is important? So this is Meenagadi, a region in Wayanad district in Kerala. So this plans to become first carbon neutral panchayat in the country. So carbon neutral means carbon emissions are neutral. Means if you are emitting carbon, then you are also making provisions for carbon emissions to reduce. Means especially like an example is if you are increasing the green cover, if you are planting trees, so trees will result in carbon dioxide absorption, so that would result in carbon emissions going down too. So balancing the two, so becoming carbon neutral. So they should have zero carbon footprint. So carbon footprint is a term used at how much carbon emissions do you have in a particular activity. So the village as such, this panchayat wants to bring down pollution to such a level that carbon emissions are neutralized. So carbon footprint becomes zero. So that is what they are trying to achieve. So this is mentioned here. They have allocated 11 crore for this project, and also they are they are planning a biodiversity park, soil and water conservation programs. So these soil and water conservation programs will also be undertaken under MGNREGA. So how MGNREGA is fruitfully used for various constructive projects can be emphasized here too. So this is there, and also a waste treatment plant is proposed. So this is important. Then the next news item is row notwithstanding Siddhi ritual held in Hassan. So we had discussed about Siddhi ritual. Now this is just the news and update to it that though the Dalits were protesting against it, the Siddhi ritual was conducted as part of the annual Udu Salamma festival in Hariharpura in Hassan district in Karnataka. So this you should remember, Siddhi was this ritual was a practice in which iron hooks were put in the body of the Dalit men, and women also had their mouth closed with iron rods as such, and they used to perform this ritual. So some pro-Dalit groups were protesting that this festival should not be conducted. Some were saying that Dalits on their own are coming ahead and performing these rituals. So the Hassan district also attempted to persuade people against participating in this ritual, but it failed. So this transition is still being seen because the pro-Dalit group also said that we don't want our children to be indulging in such rituals. So that's what this whole thing is about, and of course it is emphasized on because then otherwise it would bring the wrath of the god. So that is generally the justification also given for the ritual to go on. So with that perspective, this Siddhi ritual was in use. Then the next news item is Alina military is on the cards. So this is a committee of experts suggestion which has been brought forth now. So this was a committee of experts headed by Lieutenant General D.B. Shekatkar. So this was he's a retired Lieutenant General, and this committee of experts was also constituted by Defense Ministry, and he had submitted his recommendations. It was set up in 2015. Final report it submitted in 2016 December, and now with the Finance Minister Mr. Arun Jaitley also taking over the Defense Ministry after Mr. Manohar Parrikar became the CM of Goa, he has accepted the committee's recommendations in principle. 90 of the recommendations have been accepted, and these are put forth here. You can see the committee has also said that if its recommendations are implemented over the next 5 years, government can save up to 25,000 crore from the current expenditure on defense. So the proposal here is to make the military lean. So that is what cut flam and improve financial management. So some of the provisions are listed out here, you can see. First is a roll-on defense budget. This we have discussed earlier too. The defense section, this proposal had come, or this demand had come, that the money should not be taken away from them, what is allotted in a year. Means the money is allocated every year under the budget. So for the defense ministry, whatever allocations are there, and for every ministry too, if the allocations are not, whatever capital allocations, money allocations are done, they have to be used. If they are not used at the end of the financial year, whatever stays unused is taken back by the government. So that's what you must have heard of terms like March rush. So generally ministries try to have all the expenditure done in the month of March, because from 1st April new financial year begins. So March and everything will be gone. So that's for defense, actually that is not possible, because there is a huge amount of capital expenditure and projects proposals which are to be finalized even in bilateral international agreements are done. So in such cases it takes time. So if money is allocated and then it would be taken back, that would result in having such projects finalized and payments being made difficult. So that is why even this committee has suggested that a roll-on defense budget should be there, so that enough capital expenditure is available for modernization, as against the present practice of surrendering unspent capital budget at the end of each financial year. So this is the recommendation. Then second is a performance audit of the role of non-combat organizations. So non-combat organizations like Defense Estates and Accounts, DRDO, even NCC, National Cadet Corps. So a performance audit should be done, so that downsizing and rationalization of manpower can be done. This will result in significant savings. So this is another suggestion. Then also it says that the NCC should be progressively run by re-employed and on-contract ex-service personnel. So this will reduce in expenditure with respect to NCC. It says NCC can be transferred out of the Defense Ministry to HRD Ministry. Whether this recommendation would be accepted or not, we'll have to wait and watch. Also another recommendation is setting up of a joint services war college for training middle level officers. These are some of the recommendations highlighted. Then the next news item is IIT Bombay researchers find a novel target for blocking cancer metastasis. So metastasis is a stage when cancerous cells, they initiate this escape of cancerous cells from their primary sites to distant organs. Means where it is cancer cells are present, they are spreading. So this stage is called metastasis stage. That is the fourth stage in cancer. So this is the early form, carcinoma in situ, where it starts, then localized tumor cells develop, then early locally advanced, then late locally advanced, and then the fourth stage is metastasis. So this metastasis, how can this metastasis be blocked? A new approach has been found by IIT Bombay researchers. So what is this? They have found the pathway that is responsible for the progress of cancer metastasis, means the spread of cancer cells. So this they have said, generally what is done is surgical removal of primary tumors is done. So this is a standard treatment for localized tumors. But if you are treating cancer metastasis, this has remained difficult. So they have found the method here. They say that this escape happens through a distinct pathway. So this pathway which cancer stem cells use to evade the extracellular matrix and metastasize to other organs, if this pathway is blocked by pharmaceutical drugs, then metastasis can be completely avoided. So this is the novel approach which has been found. So this is in news. The next news item is Indians find a new bacterial target for drug development. So SNT is generally there in news on Sundays, and SNT in which Indian researchers are involved are especially important, because that is one important topic in your general studies mains. So this is another Indian researcher involved in finding new bacterial target for drug development. And this also becomes important because we are generally presently reading about antibiotic resistance. So how bacteria develop resistance. So these antibiotic resistance also develops because they bring out this biofilm. So biofilm is a biological shield. So these bacteria form these biofilms, so during infections in plants and animals. So because of this, the antibiotics cannot work. So they shield themselves from the antibiotics. So this helps the bacteria survive harsh conditions as such too, like extreme temperature and stress also. So if this biofilm is targeted specifically, then bacterial resistance can also be targeted. So this approach has been used by these Indian researchers. So what they are doing is they have found the molecular signaling events that play a crucial role in biofilm formation in Bacillus anthracis. So this particular bacteria, this is the causative agent of anthrax. So this molecular signaling event first if identified and this is blocked. So then the bacteria cannot develop the biofilm and the antibiotic could be used. So rather than having new and new antibiotics developed, this is another way used, that if you not allow the biofilm to develop, then antibiotics which are presently there too will also function. So this is an approach used to tackle drug antibiotic resistance. Then next news item is TB time bomb, a price of policy inertia. So in India, TB burden has increased a lot. We have been discussing this for long now. Also, a new TB strategy would be put forth that has been announced by the Union Health Minister, and the aim is to eliminate TB by 2025. And also we know India has the highest TB burden in the world. We have over 2 million of the 10 million reported cases as such in the world. Also MDR TB, multi-drug resistant TB cases are also quite high in India. Nearly 1.3 lakh people don't respond to first line drugs. So this is there. And also another thing was there that in recently also the government had accepted that it had been underreporting TB cases from 2000 to 2015 for the last 15 years actually. So World Health Organization had to revise its global TB estimates also in 2016 because of this revelation. So this is regarding TB. You can see the countries where high burden of TB is there. So you can see the concentration also. So in numbers, India has the largest number, but in concentration means how much percent of the population is affected. These are the countries which are more affected. You can see in Africa and here. This is Mongolia and these Southeast Asian countries. So this is there. Then the multi-drug resistance, all those aspects are also covered here. Then the next news item is new stem cell method. So researchers have developed a new stem cell method. So this simplifies the production of human stem cells like brain and muscle cells too. So in humans, we have these pluripotent stem cells. They have the ability to create any tissue. So those which are hard to access to, like brain cells, can also be developed. So this is a new platform of technology, OptiOx, which has been developed. So this optimizes the way of switching on genes in human stem cells. So if you can control the genes, then you know which cell you need to make it into. So this has the potential of therapeutic application. So some diseases like Alzheimer's, which affects the brain, heart diseases, here you need large amount of cells as such. So these can easily be made using this new platform technology. So this is in use. Then the next news item is, what is SynLight? So SynLight is actually a giant honeycomb like setup of spotlights. This has been, there are 149 spotlights all used together in Jülich in Germany. So here they are trying to have a record set that of the world's largest artificial sun. So they are creating such a way that all this light can be focused on a single 20 by 20 centimeter spot. So at this spot, the light produced, solar radiation produced, means solar radiation is produced, but the light which will be produced here would be 10,000 times more than the amount of solar radiation which normally comes at the surface. Also, the temperature will go up to 3000 degrees Celsius. So this is what they are testing, that novel ways of making hydrogen. So hydrogen is present on the sun. So this is an experiment being conducted, SynLight. So this has already begun operation, and they are trying to find ways that how this can eventually be functioning using solar energy only. Means these spotlights should use solar energy only to bring this light, and they are going to set a record. Then the next news item is EU body moves suspension of 300 drugs tested by Chennai firm. So this is European drug regulator. So they have recommended that around 300 medicines they should be suspended because their bioequivalence studies were conducted by this Chennai based firm. So they say this is unreliable data. Data is unreliable. That's why these bioequivalence studies cannot be accepted. What are bioequivalence studies? We have discussed this earlier too with respect to intellectual property rights. So bioequivalence studies are important for manufacturing or for approval of generic medicines, because there are patented drugs But if a generic version of that drug has to be developed, then the bioequivalence test is required. So this bioequivalence studies is approved, then the whatever clinical trials have been done for that drug are accepted as the clinical trials for this generic drug also. So if you just prove that this drug, generic drug, and the patented drug are bioequivalent. So that's what the intellectual property rights, all these companies which invest in intellectual property in research and development, the major spending is on clinical trials. So generic companies don't have to do clinical trials if bioequivalence is proved. So this is the whole thing. So it's very important for generic medicines, and if bioequivalence studies are rejected, means these generic medicines are rejected. So that is why this issue is important. Then the next news item is indirect tax body CBEC to be renamed. So we know Central Board of Excise and Customs, which we have. So presently, as we are seeing that indirect taxes are being subsumed under goods and services tax. So the excise duties which are generally there among states, so this will no longer be there. So you will have only the indirect taxes in general under GST. So that is why this body has also been renamed now as Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. So this will, GST is also proposed to be coming into effect from July 1. So that is why this change has been made in the name. And the last news item is rubber growers eye a bounce in prices. So natural rubber production as such has been seeing a dip for the last few years, but now we are seeing a rise in prices. So farmers are happy. They want that the imports as such should be controlled, because earlier too we have seen in news too that Malaysia, with imports coming from the Southeast Asian countries, India's local rubber producers are suffering. So India is the 6th largest producer of rubber globally, and all the rubber which we produce is used in the domestic market. So 98% goes in the domestic market only, mainly for tire manufacturing, and exports is only about 2%. So this is regarding that rubber sector. So this, they say it's the prices will bounce only if union government brings in a system to constantly monitor imports and restrict it to ensure that the supply does not exceed demand. So this is the demand of the producers of natural rubber in the country. So that is it. Thank you.